What's up, humans? This is KLUNQnA, which stands for Knowledge Lift Us Now. If you have any prayer requests, um, comments, questions that you would like to send in and maybe have answered, send them to KLUNQA@yahoo.com. Alright? And you can also hit me up for instant message chat. I'm on Facebook. Facebook.com/K.L.U.N.Qa. Alright? And just hit me up, contact me, and we'll see what's up. Question I got in is today is, why is it so hard to serve God? And honestly it's a lot of answers for that. It's how we were raised. Look at this earth around us. It's no real, just on average. I guess I can only speak for how I grew up and the people that I've been around. But on average, from what I've seen, between the TV shows, the music, the talk shows, the logic, the preachers, what they teach, you have a lot of things that works against you as far as teaching you how to really break the matrix and serve God, to live for God, best God truly made you to be able to. And these things they're gonna seem very simple. These are very simple answers, but they're gonna be hard answers. And don't look at anything that's said with a judgmental eye. Just look at it like, hey, that's what I need to do. And this is gonna speak for me as well, because I'm still learning and striving to serve the Lord as well. And I'm still striving to break that mentality that was taught, and I'm striving to learn to really be about God and His business and what He wants. And I'm gonna share with you basically the scriptures that motivates me, and that's also what God gave to me to be the perfect answer for that question. Alright? Matthew chapter 22 verses, let's see, Matthew chapter 22 verses 36 through, I guess, 39 or 30 or 40. We read 36 through 40. And I read from the complete Jewish version of the Bible, so it does have some Hebrew phrases. And I'm striving to learn what some of them mean. Alright, so here we go. Rabbi, which means teacher, which of the mitzvot in the Torah, which is instructions. The Torah is pretty much, like the Old Testament. Mitzvot is like the instructions, which would be like the law, is most important. He told him, which was Jesus, you are to love Adonai, your God. Adonai means like Lord or Master in Hebrew. You are to love the Lord or Adonai, your God, with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength. This is the greatest and most important of the mitzvot, which would be law and instruction. And also keep in mind, I know you've heard that one instruction isn't more important than the other, that they're all equal and this, that, and other. Well, Yeshua says that is the most important. Alright? It's clear that the Son of God puts that over the rest. If you don't believe Jesus is the Son of God and you don't believe in the Bible, that's a whole other conversation. Do you? But for those of us who believe that Jesus is the Son of God, it's obvious that God does have a favorite of His instructions, which is number one, the most important, is to love Him with all of your heart, soul, and strength. And then a second is similar to it. You are to love your neighbor as yourself. You know, all the Torah and the prophets are dependent upon these two instructions. Basically, that means that you can't, it honestly does us no good to sit here and worry about who's eating clean and unclean foods, who's keeping Sabbath and who ain't, who's fornicating and who's not, who's telling lies and who's not, who's coveting their neighbors or brothers things and wife and who's not, adultery. Like, it basically, Jesus is saying that it does little good to worry about that if you don't love God with all your heart, soul, and strength, and you don't love the person who you come in contact with as you love yourself. Like, what are you doing? You know, like, and that's where it starts. That's one of the reasons why it's hard to serve God. It's because you're not doing the two most important things. You're worried about other things. You're worried about things that will honestly be taken care of once you do these two most important that Jesus said was the most important. Love God with all your heart, soul, and strength. Love your neighbor like you love yourself. Alright? Now, Pete, y'all listen. This is what Jesus said. So everyone who hears these words of mine and acts on them will be like a sensible man who built his house on bedrock. The rain fell, the rivers flooded, the winds blew and beat against that house, but it didn't collapse because its foundation was on rock. That's Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 25. Alright? And that's, you know, the reason why it's hard to serve God is because we're used to being leaves. When the storm comes and the wind blows, we're used to bending. Like, if you live like that, if that's what you do, when somebody makes you mad, you get mad. If somebody makes you sad, you cry. If somebody makes you happy, you laugh or you smile. Depending on what a situation or a person do to you, it can make you feel a certain way instinctively. Now, right there, you have to choose to handle that situation the way God would want you to handle it. Just because a situation or a person do something to make you mad, spiritually, it may not be an appropriate place to be angry. Maybe it's time to dig into most definitely, it's time to dig and do what Jesus says you should do. Rest on, have the patience and love that he says you should have. That's what it's time to do. It's hard to do it because you're not gonna automatically serve God. It's never gonna be situations that just make it just so convenient and just so carefree and easy to serve God. Serving God is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, because you're gonna have to totally deny what you feel and still do what you know is right. That's why you can't serve God, or it's hard to serve God. It ain't that you can't, it's just hard. It's hard to serve God when you feel one way, and then even though you feel that way, you know you gotta react a whole other way that's opposite of that feeling. You have to stop being flexible. You have to start doing what you know is right by God, even though you feel like doing something that's wrong. Just because you feel it don't mean you have to do it. You can say no. You can choose to love God more than what is standing in front of you to tempt you. And then you can obey God. And you can live for God. You really can. So that's why no matter what storm came, the rain fell, the rivers flooded, the winds blew and beat against that house, but it didn't collapse because its foundation was on the rock. That means that's when you act on it. That's when you use the word of God. You're the house. Your body is the house. storms, the rain, the wind, those are people, those are life situations, those are worries and fears, everything that attacks you and makes you lust, everything that attacks you, that makes you not do what you're supposed to do for God. That's what those are. You're the house. God is the rock. If your house is on the rock, it won't go anywhere. When you start acting on it, it says to everyone who hears these words of mine and acts on them will be like a sensible man who built his house on bedrock. You have to act on it. You can't just go to church and hear somebody preach. You have to act on it. You have to hear this stuff and then apply it to your life best you can. Best God created you to do. Don't exaggerate me. Don't go to an extreme. You know what I'm talking about. And then, but listen to this. But everyone who hears these words of mine, like these are people who've heard it and they know it, you know what to do, and does not act on them will be like a stupid man who built his house on sand. When the rain fell, the rivers flooded, the wind blew and beat against that house. When the rain fell, when your girl started tripping, when the rivers flood, when friends of yours when strangers call you lies or aggravate you or make you mad, when the wind blew, when you're just tempted and totally tempted to do something completely wrong and beat against that house. These are things that you will be attacked with as a servant of God. It says that it collapsed, and its collapse was horrendous. You gotta choose to do it. It's really no other answer than that. You have to pray to God. You have to get to a point of loving God with all of your heart, soul, and strength. When you love something like that, it's very little room for anything else, which is why God tells you how to love people next to you, how to love your wife, how to love your kids, what you're supposed to do with them, because when you love God with all your heart, soul, and strength, like, that's not God having back burner time in your life. That's not just, I go to church every Sunday. You eat, breathe, sleep, live God. Every day you think about God. Every day you're trying to better yourself. Every day you're striving to hold on to what He's taught and to live it in your life. Every day. It's no break. If you take a break from God, it means you just want to do something not of God. Why do you want to do something not of God if serving God and going to heaven is your goal? I know it sounds hard, but don't just sit up and think that you can live your life hearing the words of Jesus and not living the words of Jesus as well. Jesus himself tells you that that's a stupid man. His house will collapse, and the collapse was horrendous. Your body is the temple of God. You are that house. Life situations and things that you go through, those are the storms. You handle those things the way Jesus tells you to handle them. That's how you serve God. It's hard. It's simple. The answer is simple. But to do it is hard. You have to fight your nature. You have to deny yourself. In Luke chapter 6, I think that's verse 46 or 36. Let me get in this Bible real quick and see. But this is a very thought-provoking, simple question from Jesus. And I love it. I love it. I love it a lot. Chapter 6. Is it chapter 6? Yeah, chapter 6, verse 46. Alright, this is what Jesus asked. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, but not do what I say? Like,